In 2017, I embarked on a memorable journey to Jamaica. And by fortunate coincidence, I attended a conference in St. Elizabeth, right there in Jamaica. And during the event, participants were presented with a handbook to outline the purpose and the vision of this particular gathering. And the gathering was really about an initiative aimed to reconnect the Akampong Maroon people with their Ghanaian ancestry, following a long disturbance and conflict they endured during the British colonizer in the 18th century. So, as I delve into the handbook, one detail immediately captured my attention: the name Akampong. At first glance, I was puzzled because I know the term Akan bears no linguistic connection to any Ghanaian origin. However, a deeper reflection, guided by my intuition, revealed likely a misspelling or anglicized distortion from the English language. Indeed, the name, I realized, should have been Akan, spelled as Akan and not Accom, as it's been published in the handbook I was having then. In Ghana, Aka signifies first or one in authority. The interpretation aligns perfectly with the lesson I learned from my security teacher during the years past, anyway, from my security teacher back in my secondary school. We were taught then that Okan means one. So, in my experience also in Lagos, really affirmed this. While I was in Lagos, I knew that Akan or Okan means one, and the meaning like Akande means firstborn. So, it perfectly reaffirm my understanding about the meaning of Akan, which means one. So it definitely shows that it really bears much tie. The Akan people bear more ancestral tie to the Akan people of Ghana. So it became very apparent that the Maroon of Akan shares direct ancestral ties to the Akan people of Ghana, but through slavery and just dramatic colonization alters the course of their destiny. However, this realization has served as a reminder how easily language can obscure truth. Without examining the linguistic root of Akakon, one might easily draw a false conclusion about the meaning and heritage of that particular name. So another element also that intrigued my attention was NG, which is the end part of the name Akankpong. The letter NG appear in numerous African names, across people, names, place, and even cultures, even with nation. It carries a profound historical and cultural significance. In light of this, I intend to explore the further power of this name, NG, which is a suffix that has this remarkable, which is a suffix and also can be a prefix that has this remarkable influence as it has brought to African linguistic heritage. I'm doing this because I know names are never just labels or symbols, that they are vessels carrying the souls of people. Together, they remind us that every name in Africa is a piece of living history waiting to be heard. With that in mind, I will explore this channel to open up a portal to understand the mystery behind the African name that starts or begins with the letter NG. So ladies and gentlemen, this is a word, it's a sound, it's a symbol of force that we have known for centuries, yet scarcely understood. When I mean scarcely, I'm emphatic about the idea that it is scarcely understood. It will beat your imagination how one is able to open up this portal of knowledge, such that we can explore this opportunity to other possible variables for better understanding through pragmatic applications of this truth. This word is one of the most misused, misspelled, mispronounced, misinterpreted expression in human history. It cuts across ocean and cultures. It appears in languages in America, in Africa, even in Asia, in Europe alike. It also shapes the identity of states, even in national names. Countless of possible individuals as well bear this name. So with that in mind, you can understand that it has deeply woven into our daily lives and that its power has often gone unnoticed. And this is the word we use as called the NG. You see, this is far more than just two letters representing continuity and vitalities of life. It exists at the beginning and at the end of countless words and names, shaping meanings wherever it appears. In African culture especially, NG has been foundationally embedded in names like Ngozi, Ngigi, Ngano, and even Niger, Angola, and Senegal. Consider the way NG operates. add E to it, an entirely new African words. The same thing that has to do with your I, the O, and the U. And again, a new streams of names appear in addition of those names. This is no coincidence. NG carries a frequency, a resonance that has shaped African identity for millennia. This is why so many African names begins or end with NG. It is a signifier of continuity, of vitalities of light that does not end. Yet, colonizers taught us to undervalue or distort this name. Many names were forcibly changed during baptism, migration, even assimilation, but the NG remains stubborn, indestructible, and evergreen. Its power is so profound that even colonizers recognize it and attempt to dilute or distort it, giving rise to words and connotations far from its original essence. Today I will shed light on this word, and when you truly understand it, you will see why it is inseparable from life itself. You see, when we analyze NG linguistically and symbolically, we see its connection to the concept of NG and even energy, and I will explain. So far so good. NG, from all indication, embodies the life force that sustains both physical and mental activities. In physics, we understand that through the first law of thermodynamics, that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but can be converted from one form to another, which means it could be transformed from one form to another. You see, this principle echoes the timeless nature of the concept of this NG, a force that never dies but continuously regenerates itself endlessly. Okay, let's observe the intriguing terms, the NG. You see, this word bears a striking resemblance to the concept of an engine of a car, which is a complex system that harnesses power to generate motion. Similarly, the word energy, like N and G, holds a deep connection to this particular notion of energy. So the reason behind this correlation is multifaceted and warrants closer examination. And this is exactly what we're going to do as we progress in these particular issues of NG. Energy, by definition or by description, is a vital force required to sustain physical and mental activity. There's no perfect explanation or definition for NG, or there's no perfect explanation for the concept of energy. Energy, by definition or by description, is a vital force required to sustain physical and mental activity. That's the best definition we can give. It is also, in physics, we say energy is the rate at which work is done. Energy is like the driving force of all phenomena. So, notably, the term energy and engine share a common thread, highlighting the intricate relationship between languages and concepts. It is intriguing to consider how the dynamism of language can be leveraged to convey meaning and significance upon these particular words. So we can understand that the deliberate manipulation of terminology can have far-reaching consequences, as evidenced by the complex history surrounding this particular word NG. The imposition of negative connotation as is associated with this specific racial or social group adds a layer of complexity to the interpretation of that word NG. So, however, energy, like we know, is omnipotent and is very, very essential. It can be converted from one form to another, but its essence remains indestructible. When we express the word energy and we put a counter mirror close to the word energy, we encounter the color green, and this is very revealing. So from this end, we understand that energy is green. So the word green is actually a derivative of the word energy. It's like an anagram. Rearranging the words of energy, it will give you green. And that's where the concept of green comes into place. Green is not a natural word that is there. It's a derivative from the word energy. So energy is green, green is energy. So you can understand that this is not accidental. Green is universally the color of growth, balance, renewal, universally associated with life. It sits at the center of the color spectrum in the rainbow, symbolizing the neutrality and the harmony. When you place the color of the rainbow in a vertical spectrum, you can understand that green sits at the very middle of the spectrum, indicating that green symbolizes neutrality between the spectrum from the red to the indigo color. So to further this particular word NG, let's take a closer look at the color spectrum rainbow. Upon the examination of the color spectrum, we notice that green occupies a pivotal position situated at the midpoint of the visible light spectrum. This tragic placement underscores the inherent balance and neutrality that green plays or embodies. So as we ascend the color spectrum, the next color we encounter is blue. Conversely, as we descend into the color spectrum, it will transcend into the color red. So you see, this dichotomy is reflective of the natural world we live today, where the next color from the neutrality of the green earth is blue up the spectrum, which displays a sense of serenity in the green color. If we descend down, the next color we encounter is the red color, which signifies decay or transformation. This is not only left in the natural world. Within our the universe within the human, we can understand through the chakra system an ancient symbolic representation of human energy. Green is associated with the heart center, representing the balance, harmony, and growth. The upper chakra are also linked to the color blue, while the lower chakra below the heart chakra, which is green, is associated with the color red and its related hue, including orange and yellow. You see, this correlation highlights the profound connection between our inner world and external environment, and it is reflective of the ancient Hermetic principle, the principle of correspondence that states, as above, so below, as within, so without. This phrase suggests a harmonious connection between the microcosm, which is the universe, and the microcosm, which is humanity, implying that the pattern and the truth repeat themselves across different scale and realm of our existence. So the concept of evergreen parallels the principle of renewable energy, which align the fundamental laws of thermodynamics, and according to the laws that we've stated earlier, that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but will be converted from one form to another. So this implies that energy, particularly in its green or sustainable form, is self-sustaining and regenerative. The life force inherent in green organisms such as plants exemplify this particular principle, as they can regenerate themselves, revive themselves in this dormancy. So we can see that the potency of green energy is evidenced in the resilience of plant life, where seeds can lie dormant for extended period of time only to germinate and flourish when things become favorable to them. So this vitality is a manifestation of life force that permeates all living entities. So regarding the terminology associated with this concept, it is essential to consider the implication of assigning certain names or label to some particular phenomenon. So the potential consequence of perpetuating negative connotation or misinterpretation or misconception about a specific terms, such as this one related to energy or sustainability, warrant careful examination. The green energy is not merely an environmental term, but a reflective of the NG principle, which is the life force, regeneration, and continuity of life. This is why so many African nations, including Nigeria, features green predominantly in their flags. Nigeria green, white, green flag symbolize fertility, growth, the external vitality of the land and its people. It is no coincidence that the popular Nigeria anthem by Tiwa Bello declares the green land. So let's dive into the colonial distortion of the word NGA to the word NIGA. Today we explore and demystify the significance of the term NG and its relevance to our understanding. Historically, when the European colonizer encountered African population, they struggled to pronounce certain indigenous words, including those featuring the NG combination. This phonetic sequence, comprising two consonants, poses a challenge for non-native speakers, and a closer observation suggests that the introduction of the vowel between consonants facilitated easier pronunciation for this colonizer when they arrived to Africa. For instance, the root word NG can be modified to form various words such as NGA as written in Ngano. We can have words like Ngendo. We can have another word like Ngi, Ngo, or Ngu by inserting different vowel in key position in those consonants. So it is therefore plausible that the European colonizer implied their linguistic convention to simplify the pronunciation of these words that are native to Africa, thereby creating more manageable phonetic vibration when they create those words. The evolution of certain words and names can be influenced by various linguistic and cultural factors. So over time, this modification have obscured the original essence of certain sacred symbolic words. What we have studied so far will consider how NG re-emerged the name of African nations and languages, preserving the fragment of its original significance despite centuries of external manipulation. While the conventional Latin etymology suggests that Niger denotes black, such interpretations are insufficient to explain the broader cultural linguistic complexities of the evolution of such terms. The association of the term NG with the people of African descent does not inherently indicate that NG signifies black. Rather, within an alternative framework, NG symbolizes green, like we say in energy, which reversal will give you green. It symbolizes green, growth, or energy. This concept is linked to vitality and the natural world. It is in the association of this that we can understand that NG may conceptually be related to the word engine and energy. Energy will yield green. It's a phonetic form resembling the word green, making it an anagram of the word energy. Over time, the linguistic element NG evolved into what we call the NIGA, called Niger. Subsequently, the inability for the colonists to pronounce the NGA led to the insertion of vowels to keep position in those consonants, which we later call the word NIGGA or Niger. It became widely used as a racial slur during and after the colonial era. We can see that this evolution reflects a broader pattern of colonial distortion in which the indigenous linguistic roots were appropriated, misinterpreted, and weaponized against the very people from which the name originated from. Ironically, as European colonizers expanded their reach into Africa, they introduced this corrupt form of African linguistic heritage into the continent. The evidence of this reintroduction can be seen when the Europeans renamed so many African continents. This is traced to the element of NG. Most of the names, like Nigeria and Niger, suffer this manipulation. So the manipulation of African language can also be observed in the inconsistency of the English language and their pronunciation. For instance, the letter G is pronounced as G, despite representing a different phonetic sound, as we have seen in the word goat or even garage or game. There is no G sound in the English alphabet, yet some words carry the word G. This suggests a deliberate linguistic redirection, possibly reflecting the effort to obscure the original meaning of certain phonetic sounds associated with African and non-European roots. From this perception, Nigeria may be accurately understood as Nga, Nga, a form stripped of its colonial modification. In this sense, Nga, the Nga land would represent the land of the gas, or the land of fertility and vitality. Since we have displayed in the earlier form how so many African names are reflective of this name Nga, like we've seen in the list below, so many African names and nations bear the word like Ngozi, Nganu, Ngige, and so on and so forth. So let's dive into the parallel correlation between the Nga land and the England. This conceptual framework also opened the possibility of examining parallel between the Nga land and England. From conventional etymology of the England, it traces its roots to Angles, which is a German tribe. One could argue that England is at the least symbolically a linguistic adaptation of the earlier Nga land, an appropriation of both sound and meaning. This is evidence in our cultural persistence of NG. This name NG is prevalent within a lot of African countries. The names share a common phonetic pattern and resonance, suggesting a shared linguistic heritage rooted in the word NG. Collectively, they reinforce the reinterpretation of NG as a fundamental African linguistic element associated with vitality, origin, and unity. So this reinterpretation of NG provides a compelling framework for understanding the intersection of languages, culture, and colonial powers. What began as a symbol of vitality and life became a term of racial degradation. Yet, within the African linguistic structure, traces of original meaning persist, embedded in the place, name, cultural expression, and symbolic association. So, restoring awareness of this connection not only to reclaim a framework of linguistic heritage but also challenge the historical narrative that reduce complex African language or tradition to produce the colonial misinterpretation. So the study of NG underscore the resilience of the language as both the repository of culture and the site of resistance against the erasure of the language. If this premise is all true, which I know is true, one may begin to appreciate why numerous English words containing the constant clusters of NG conveys a sense of continuity or persistence, which is associated with the concept of being evergreen, often represented by the number 8, which loop endlessly, signifying the unceasing existence. This scientific principle mirrors the linguistic behavior of NG in English language, which is frequently appeared in the present continuous verb, such as driving, sleeping, drinking, or even playing. The occurrence of NG in this construction signifies the ongoing continuous action, an activity that has not ceased. Consequently, NG embodies the concept of perpetuality, something self-sustaining, regenerative, and undying. So NG and NGA can be interpreted as such: that which was and that which is and will continue to be, a state of eternal existence akin to the evergreen nature of the green plant. And this word I call the bigrammaton. So in this context, the term Nigeria can be re-examined as Ngaland, derived from Nga, meaning the land of continuity, the place of perpetual existence. This interpretation suggests that the correct pronunciation and spelling of Niger or Nigeria or its colonial variants such as Niger may represent the later adaptation that obscured the original essence and meaning of that language. Much as the British designation of England, which is originally derived from the word England, the term England would more accurately reflect the linguistic and cultural foundation implied by the root NG. So you have to have this cultural and linguistic transformation that the term Niger, which is Niger, as conventional, as painful as it become, did not originally emerge from hatred or insult. Its earlier linguistic roots can be traced to names and expressions found throughout the sub-Saharan African region, where it is once denoted was something eternal, something indestructible, a life force that can never die. In its truest form, the word spoke to energy, the energy of the planet itself. It represents what we might call the evergreen principle, a force that continues to exist and multiply without end. Just as the forest regenerates itself seasons after seasons, the concept describes an evergreen vitality that could not be destroyed. So this particular idea of endlessness is encoded in the root word NG, the same root found in the African names and places. In Nigeria, for instance, there's a community known as Ngas, an ethnic group from Plateau State, rarely discussed in the mainstream, but still very much alive and striving. The presence of NG in their names is not accidental. It's reflective of a long-standing spiritual and linguistic heritage that is constant within that culture in African identity, such as the names are shown in this diagram. As we see the streams of name all bearing right from Cameroon to Nigeria to Ghana to Senegal to Congo, all bearing this particular name, having this same root word NG in all of their names. You see, the presence of NG in our names is not accidental. It reflects a long-standing spiritual and linguistic heritage. We take a close look at our natural world. Everything that exists today is moved by energy. Energy is in everything. We breathe in energy, we breathe out energy. Energy is transformed from one form to another. Everything around us, either in the mental or in the physical state, is all about energy, its conservation and its transformation. This is the exactly idea about who the personality of God, that He can be in us, He can be outside of us, He can be in our cell, It can be even, does not take the particular shape of anything. And this is attuned to, when we look closer, we see that this pattern is also repeated again in our Africa identity, like in our names. You can see in the Ngozi, Nganu, Ngige, and so many other names across the sub-Saharan African region bear this identity and names that begins or end with NG. This points me to the idea that according to the book of 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and turn from their evil ways, I will hear from them and I will heal their land. Just paraphrasing it. So it's as if the people of God will be called in a special name. If my people who are called by my name, our names are always together with that idea of NG. It's as if our name bears the name of God, and God itself, if we look a closer look at it, from my understanding and from my research, it has to do with the idea of N and G, which is NG. That's just our names too. Other passages include the book of Isaiah 43 verse 1, where God says, "Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by my name, and you are mine. You've called me by my name." So we identify God's people by virtue of the name. The name of the people bears the name of God, bears the identity of God, bears the principles of God. So our name, which is in the sub-Saharan Africa, bears the name of God itself, and it's more reason why it is very easy to identify an African person when he travels abroad, especially with that particular name. And lots of them has the idea of the embediment with the affiliation with the word N and G. So with that in mind, it is said that when Africa continue to carry and pronounce these words, NG names, whether at the beginning or the words at the end of it, they activate the kind of natural frequency that resonate, that even aligns up more closely with the earth rhythm, its strength and even its enduring power. Also, some other things to think about: the world's most powerful international body is the United Nations. And what is the governing body called? The governing body is called the United Nations General Assembly, known as UNGA. This is attuned to the idea of the UNGA that has been persistent in all of our discussion. The World General Assembly is called the UNGA. So this to tell you that even at the highest level of global power, the sound of UNGA is also present. The abbreviation UNGA in itself carries the same vibrational identity. It is no coincidence that the United Nations symbolic color is also green, the color of life, balance, and renewal. So having said this, it is time to reclaim the understanding of the word Niggl, which is Niger, as used in the Americas, was a distortion, an attempt to strip away the sacred power embedded in the African languages. It does not belong to black people as a slur. It's a deeper meaning belonging to those Africa who show sign of continuity and vitality. You see, our names are not curses. They are codes of power. Only misinterpretation and misconception has derogated it to the racial slur we see today. As consider this: Ngannou is one of the most formidable fighters in the UFC, in the history of UFC. Okojo Owela Ngozi is the Director General of World Bank Organization. Ngigi played a key role in Nigerian politics. These are not just mere coincidences. The identity NG carries a strength in linguistic and cultural and spiritual practices. So we should endeavor to make sure the idea of NG, which resonates to engine and energy, we have to actually take up the power behind it and uplift the African community. Our land, therefore, is not called Nigeria or Niger. It's a derogatory term. The name Nigeria is a derogatory term. Those are the colonial designation. The land should be called the Unga land, the land of the Ungas, the people of continuity and resilience. This is not far-fetched when you realize that the British itself did. The very name England was an adaptation from the Unga land, which is a reappropriation of an African language form. And perhaps this hidden connection explains, at least symbolically, why England remained one of the world's enduring powers for centuries. The influence of NG even extends into European geography. Look at the word Schengen, the transnational European zone. Once again, we find the same phonetic signature is embedded in the European names and power. And here is something even fascinating. Many sub-Saharan African nations proudly bear green in their national flag. Most prominent one is Nigeria. This is not just a coincidence, because the power of green is there. Even in the UK Parliament, the Parliament is seated with a green chairs around, and this is not a coincidence. So a closer examination of the sovereign parliament of the UK, you will see that the parliament is all green, just as we have the National Assembly of Nigeria, which is painted green. So green has shown preeminence in over all these things because of the word NG. NG is in the name of Africa. NG is translated into engine of a car. It is what gave birth to the word energy, and it is what exactly, when it's mirrored, we call the word green. Our name bears eternity, the continuity of life, the vitality of life. So this is not just coincidence. This is also a subconscious resembler of the evergreen energy that defines our people, our language, and our land, which hold the sacredness of the entire world. So when next you hear the word NG in a name, remember this: it represents continuity, energy, existence without end. It is not a mark of shame as used in the word Niger, but a legacy of life in itself. The Nigerian flag is green, white, green. It's a unique among African nations. No other country in the continent carries a flag so defined by its color, green and white. And that design is no coincidence. It reflects something deeper, something spiritual about Nigerian people in this planet. Nigeria occupies a special position in the world, not just geographically, but energetically. The people of that region are among the most dynamic, gifted, and resilient people on earth. You can see it in how Nigeria are found everywhere in the corner of the globe, creating, building, influencing, and even leading. But the tragedy and perhaps the beauty of our journey is that many have yet to discover who they truly are. One thing is for sure: wherever Nigeria trend to all over the globe, they place their mark in that particular place. Providence will have it that when you bless Nigeria, you will be blessed. For any nation that bless Nigeria, that people who call themselves Nigeria will be blessed. For any nation that causes that people will be cursed. For the same measure you do to those people, that will be done unto that nation. So the time will come where people all over the world will realize the powerful nature of Nigeria, and they will sought their protection, name that they bear. The truth is that Nigeria is more than a country. It is a source of power all over the world. It is a center of possibility, a land whose energy radiates from that spot far beyond the reach of its border. This is the more reason why it is attracting a lot of people towards that particular land. Nigeria is the source and the power point of all civilization of the world. That region is a source of power all over the world. The entire world recognizes this, even if Nigeria themselves have not fully realized it. The attention and admiration, the constant global focus on that land, it is not random. It is the actual recognition that we have to seek ourselves in actualizing the goals of becoming the full knowledge of Nigeria. The green of the flag represents life, fertility, and renewal. It symbolizes the continuity of creation, the everlasting vitality of the land and its people, the one that brought about the circle of life and its existence. So when you say the land is green, we are saying much more than the soil is fertile. We are saying the land is alive. We should not destroy the land. We are acknowledging that Nigeria holds the spiritual and creative energy that continues to replenish itself. It is a living, breathing source of renewal and evergreen land that the entire world should focus on if we should have a better world. As T.Y. Bello beautifully sang in her song, The Green Land, the land is green because it carries the greatness within it. Since it's the seat of continuity, the home of people whose existence is tied to something far ancient and profound. All nations look towards Nigeria with the curiosity, admiration, even longing, because deep down they sense that something extraordinary resides in that land and the people and with the land itself. But this greatness will only fully be awakened when the people themselves come to the understanding of who they are and what their land truly means to the world. A peace in Nigeria is a peace towards the world. A self-governing Nigeria is a peace towards the world. To grab this, we must return to the roots, the meaning of the Nga in our language, the sound that represents energy, life, and endless existence. Only when we realize that the land we call Nigeria is, in essence, the Nga land, the place of unbroken vitality, which, like what other reinterpreted and renamed as England. To reclaim the truth is to claim our power. The land is green, the people are strong, and the name still carries the energy and vitality of the earth.
Every prayer and every seed I've sown, the Lord of the harvest knows I'm reaping back 100-fold. The land is green, it's green, oh, oh. The land is green, it's green, can't you see? harvest is ready, 'cause the Lord of the harvest told me so. It's green for me. It's green for me. Standing alone can be a heavy load, but my vows I won't be breaking. Though my heart is aching, I got a word and I won't let go. It's your will I'm seeking, so I keep on believing. I see it now, I understand, I know, so I embrace it, dance. Once again it's time for me to grow. For every prayer and every tear I've sown, Lord of the harvest knows I'm reaping joy 100-fold. The land is green, it's green, oh, oh. The land is green, it's green. Can't you see? The harvest is ready, 'cause the Lord of the harvest told me so.